Good morning. It's so beautiful here. I really enjoy your grounds and your labyrinth and this building. Thank you for your hospitality this morning. In her book, The Meaning of Mary Magdalene, the contemporary mystic Cynthia Bourgeault writes of a profound experience she had in a Holy Week liturgy setting at, I think, a French monastery, big, huge cathedral stone. The light was setting, and this deep ritual was going on involving the crucified Christ. And she was taking communion, and the liturgy was being read in French, and the sun was setting, and the light was just hitting the stones. And this reading involved the laying to rest of Jesus, the wrapping of his body in linen and the placing of his body in the tomb. And then she heard in French, she thought she might be confused. And Mary Magdalene and the other Mary remained outside the tomb, silently keeping vigil. Cynthia Bourgeault is an Episcopal priest, and she had heard this story and preached this story and read this story and sung this story many times. But somehow, Mary Magdalene, keeping silent vigil outside Jesus' tomb, had escaped her. No wonder, she thought, that Mary was so easily able to go to the tomb on Sunday morning. She had been there keeping vigil all along. Somehow she missed Mary Magdalene, as most of us have missed Mary Magdalene. She's having a bit of a moment right now. There's a lot of energy around Mary Magdalene. Who is this woman, beloved of Jesus, apostle to the apostle? What does she mean? She's been around all this time and we keep missing her. How is it that we keep missing her over and over again? And what is she trying to tell us? I personally haven't given much thought to Mary Magdalene. I don't know what Marta was doing recommending me, but here I am. Here I am, and I'm happy to be here. But I will tell you that I encountered Mary Magdalene in a different way reading the poetry of Marie Howe, the contemplative poet from New York City. She has a poem called Magdalene, the Seven Devils. When her brother was dying of AIDS, she wrote a series of Mary Magdalene poems. I recommend them to you. She has a powerful voice. And her poem begins about these seven devils, these seven demons. You know, Mary Magdalene was, how do you call it? Exorcised, healed of these demons. Marie Howe thinks about that, what demons live inside of her. She says, the first was I was very busy. The second, I was different from you. Whatever happened to you could not happen to me, not like that. The third, I worried. The fourth, envy disguised as compassion. The fifth was that I refused to consider the quality of the life of the aphid. The aphid disgusted me, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The mosquito to its face and the ant, its bifurcated body. Okay, the first was that I was too busy. The second was that I made the wrong choice. And it goes on and on. She lists her seven demons that live in her and that she would like anyone, to extract from her. If the goal is to remain humble and self-aware, which the mystics say is the path into the soul's journey towards unity with God, then you could do worse than to create a list of seven demons that live inside of you. Humility and self-awareness are the two big hymns in the contemplative prayer book, according to Teresa of Avila. Mine begins and ends with defensiveness and guardedness and the constant fear that I'm doing it all wrong. which is to say an anxiety that I'm the wrong person for the job at the wrong time in the wrong place. And so it goes. And on one level, I know it isn't true. The demons, after all, are liars. And on one level, I know I can hand it all to God, the great act of surrender, the great act of letting go, the other big hymn in the Contemplative's prayer book. But there they are. Everywhere he went healing people. And if we know about Mary Magdalene, it's maybe the 7 demons that were exorcised out of her. For some of us, Mary Magdalene is the woman, the prostitute that had 7 demons cast out of her by Jesus. For others, Mary is Jesus's squeeze, his wife, the mother of his children, all of that Davinci Code stuff. Part of the fascination with this idea is the result of the Davinci Code. Part of it is a peculiar line in the Gospel of Phillip. Jesus used to walk with her and kissed her frequently upon the mouth. For me, Mary Magdalene emerges as an image of steadfast love. As I read about Mary Magdalene, I really lit upon this image of Mary as steadfast love. As a hospital chaplain, as a hospice chaplain, I have over and over witnessed the simple and profound power of standing vigil. Who does not weep at the image of a spouse of 45 years sitting with their beloved hand in hand, the deepest silence in that encounter? No words necessary, nothing left to say. Just love and the act of presence. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary remained standing there in front of the tomb. Maybe for you, Mary is the woman who stood by the tomb and then on Easter morning went to the tomb and encountered Jesus and was told by the risen Jesus to go and tell the others that he would meet them someplace and further instruction was coming. I love that the first thing in the Gospel of Matthew that Jesus says to her is peace. And the second thing is do not be afraid. It is upon this commission to go and tell the others that Jesus is risen that we get the idea that Mary is the apostle to the apostle. And it is this scene that encouraged Jürgen Moltmann, the German theologian who died recently, to say, without women preachers, there's no record of the risen Jesus. In the telling of the Easter story every year, most of us focus on the disciples who flee the scene in fear or who betrayed Jesus. And while all the others are fleeing, Mary Magdalene stands firm. She does not run. She does not betray. She does not lie about her commitment. She witnesses, pure and simple. She bears witness. Hers is the stillness of that deep human love, that steadfast love. Hers is the stillness that comes from someone who has absorbed the teachings of Jesus so deeply that she knows instinctively how to live out of them. How would the church differ, Cynthia Bourgeot asks, if during Holy Week we focused on that image as opposed to Peter's betrayal and all of the other fleeing? What if that Holy Week image was that steadfast love that stays and bears witness? What if instead of emphasizing that Jesus died alone and rejected, we reinforced the one that stood by him and did not leave? How would the emotion of the day differ? And how would we come to understand the role of women in the church differently? If this is your cup of tea, and you are looking to blame someone for the whole prostitute business, you can look to Luke, who undercuts her position in subtle ways in the gospel, but mostly look to Pope Gregory. It is clear, brothers, he did not mention sisters, I don't know what's up with that, but Pope Gregory, whenever he was writing this sermon, it is clear, brothers, he writes, that this woman previously used the unguent to perfume her flesh in forbidden acts. And thus, for centuries and centuries, we get Mary Magdalene, the whore. Now, it's very interesting, and the reason I mention this is that Cynthia Bourgeault is convinced that this was misogyny having its way, right? This is in order to keep those 12 disciples as men and celibate and sexual purity and all that stuff. She's clear that that's part of this story. But I think she makes a really interesting point when she says there's something deeper. There's something deeper. Clearly, there are forces that want to deny that there was an equal group of disciples, men and women, and that Mary was a part of the innermost circle of disciples, right? So they clearly want to get rid of that. But she says, I see the portrait of Mary Magdalene as penitent, who has primarily the work of the early church's collective unconscious, the inevitable shadow side of its increasing obsession with celibacy and sexual purity. Gregory's leap from 7 demons to 7 deadly sins to lust is, in Cynthia Bourgeault's mind, characteristic of subconscious mental processing. And here is the thing that matters for us. She writes, in all eras, the church remains the faithful mirror of its time. What cannot be faced openly will find its way to the surface in the only way it can. Because they were obsessing about sexual purity and celibacy and male domination and all this stuff, all of a sudden, out of the subconscious imagination of Pope Gregory emerges Mary Magdalene as, of course, a prostitute. Let's pause here for a moment. What can't be faced openly will find its way to the surface in the only way it can when it comes to individuals and the church. I've preached all over in the last few years, Texas and North Carolina, Colorado Springs, the Midwest, up and down the Front Range. In all eras, the church remains the faithful mirror of its times. The times now are what? It's crazy, divided. Michigan, what is it? Polarized. Contentious, frustrating, scary. We're divided and violent. And what I hear from progressives across the country over and over again is that all of those rights that we've been working on for decades, marriage, equality, reproductive rights, GLBTQ stuff, women, are all at risk. And it's both scary and horrifying and really sad and grief-oriented. The violence done by rhetoric against immigrants, against foreigners, against neighbors, the actual violence of guns, abundant and ubiquitous. We must face these things, even if facing it means dread and exhaustion. That is the calling right now. And I believe more than ever that the mainline and progressive congregation across faith traditions are invited to start right where we are, to start small, to be little laboratories of spiritual wildness, where we are known as joyful and liberating in a fractured, bruised, demented world. We are called to dismantle the isms, sexism, racism, xenophobia, but we're called to embody and build the beloved community we proclaim in joy and liberation. I think the church is dying. I mean, it's clearly the church is in a struggle because we proclaim this beloved community and so often fail to even hint at what it might look like. Not you all, those other ones. What would a church look like with this kind of animating spirit? I remember on a Palm Sunday at a UCC congregation, the parade of misfits and outcasts marching up the aisle as if to Jerusalem with Jesus by their side, queer folks without proper documentation, a person with a felony, joyfully marching together, painting a picture of radical hospitality, radical belonging. I remember last Epiphany at a UU congregation, 3 drag queens in a theatrical performance searching for a place to belong. You know the Epiphany story, 3 wise, right? No, it's drag queens looking for a place to belong, and they go on a great, and there was a lot of ABBA and a lot of Madonna. It was great. It was great. We are called now more than ever to paint a beautiful, radical picture of what we so crucially casually proclaim week in and week out, that the kingdom is among us. The kingdom of love is within you. You are the keeper of the wisdom that will save you. In the book of Mary, Jesus talks first about the material world. Somebody says, what's up with this matter? What's up with this material world? And Jesus talks about how the world is good and beautiful, so good and beautiful that the ultimate good decided to come among us, to reside here. One heart, one being, one will, one God, all in all. And then Jesus talks about how sin is living out of alignment with our true selves and how all things will be reconciled to the good at the end of the day. It's very mystical and very magical and very different than the 4 Gospels. But what is the same is that Jesus offers a great commissioning to his beloved disciples. He says, peace be with you. May my peace reside within you. Guard carefully that no one misleads you, saying, look, he's here or he's over there. It's just like the Gospel of Thomas, right? Beware those who say that the kingdom of God is in the sea, because then the fishies will get there first. Beware those who say that it's up in the sky, because then the birds will be. It's inside. The Son of Humanity already exists within you. Follow and you will find. So go now and proclaim the good news. And then Jesus departs. And what happens? They do what I would do. They freak out. And Peter, I think it's Peter, turns to Mary and says, well, you were his beloved. What can you tell us about his teachings? Or in other words, what's up, Mary Magdalene? And the big reveal, the big truth that she shares is this. He has prepared us for this time so that we might be fully human. Do you see how much that's our call right now? In Boulder, in Fort Collins, in the Springs, in Denver, in Albuquerque, in London, in Paris, wherever. Go, be at peace. Have good courage, you are not alone, and proclaim the good news that we're all on a journey towards becoming fully human. in joy and in liberation. Richard Rohr says, I thought that being faithful was about becoming something other than who I was. And it was not until that project failed that I began to wonder if my human wholeness might be more useful to God than my exhausting goodness. You see. All right. Remember how Mary stands at the tomb in silence, keeping vigil in the face of disorientation and grief. In the book of in the Gospel of Mary, she does something equally remarkable. They say, how are we going to go and do this? They rejected him, they're going to reject us too. And what she does is give them the best gift imaginable, to remind them of the resources already within them that will help them to face what they must face. She reorients them to the good. She reorients them to the good. Do not weep and grieve, nor let your hearts remain in doubt, for his grace is with you, all of you, sustaining and protecting you. Rather, let us give praise to his greatness, which has prepared us so that we might become fully human. She reminds them, remember who you are. Remember what you're doing. Remember why you're here. And so I say to you, Boulder Community UCC, remember who you are, what you're doing, and why you're here.
Amen.
That's okay, I'll do it. Wow.
Yeah.
Amen.
Now we know what Marta said.
Now, exactly. I was going to say, I know why Marta said. Beautiful. So what's up with Mary Magdalene? We have 2 questions for you to reflect together with, so find a partner or 2. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is not in the canon, but it contains deep and abiding wisdom, as Roger just shared. Where do you turn in the canon, outside the canon, to find deep and abiding wisdom? How do you listen for it, and how do you receive it? So that's one question. And then number 2 that you could reflect on, in 2 minutes. His greatness has prepared us to be fully human. What else has Jesus' greatness prepared us for? And what do you take it to mean to be fully human in today's world? Find a partner, a couple minutes. It's a lot of questions. Take a piece. What are you taking away? Great conversations, I know. Come on back, my friends.
All right, that's enough, Joy.
Right? We were saying, whoa, Philip means it. Yeah, what a beautiful reflection and offering. And I have no doubt that this sermon will stick with us for a while, and we'll be thinking and discussing and reflecting. And so I do invite you to continue your reflection and conversation after worship with some coffee or tea and whatever snacks are back there. So thank you for being here, and thanks for participating in that. And so let's take a couple moments of silence just to let it all settle in and keep the reflection going.
Greetings to you wherever you are watching this. For those of you whom I have yet to meet in person, I'm Reverend Nicola Marsh, pastor here at Community UCC. And we see that people like you are watching our live stream each week. And because of this, we are excited to be embarking upon an experiment. And we need you. If you are engaging with us regularly, finding meaning in what we are about, we would like to extend a special invitation for you to be among the first CUCC digital disciples. For signing up for just $10 a month, you will receive a t-shirt with the new CUCC logo, And we are also exploring the idea of offering other content to those of you who are part of this new and growing area of digital ministry. Sign up to support us in this new way at cuccboulder.org/support by clicking on the yellow donate tab and noting you are a digital disciple in the instructions. Or as always, we welcome an old-fashioned check mailed to us at CUCC, P.O. Box 3646, Boulder, Colorado 80307. Thank you for being and building beloved community with us, and thank you for your gift, whatever it might be.